You know, when I met Donna, I was already doing yoga for 12 years and I was quite passionate. And because of that, after 12 years, I really knew that I was stuck. I somehow couldn't progress on, and I'd studied with Mr. Iyengar and Patabi Joyce. I'd met quite a few teachers. So Mr. Iyengar sent Donna to teach in Jerusalem. I was just back from India, and I went to her workshop. That was in January 1988. And by the way she practiced, I knew that she knew more than me. Because I was practicing for years already, a few hours a day, and because I really knew where I was stuck, I knew what she knew, that she knew more. And I thought, okay, I want to study with her. And I think it's also a moment in time that I was very lucky that she was already certainly mature in her practice and was already a little bit more independent. She had spent many, many years with Mr. Iyengar and was a senior student and teacher of his, but she was trying to say it somehow in her own words, or at that moment it started. It was still a lot of blocks and belts and contractions, but she was really trying to speak from her body. And also it was a moment that she was living in Bacaretto alone, and I could go over to Italy and just practice with her for some weeks at a time. And so really practicing next to her body to body, I could sometimes just by moving next to her, you know, with the side of my eye, catch a movement and it would happen in my body. And so, after practicing like this for a few years, being pregnant and giving birth during those years, because I'd been practicing 12 years before, I'm saying this because I think it takes longer usually, but because I'd been practicing for 12 years before, quite a bit, and because she was such an excellent practitioner, and I was quite eager, so after maybe 3 years of practicing with her, I could largely imitate her, which means I could practice next to her and do all the practice, which was a very advanced practice, as some of you know, looking into her, you know, her books where you see her doing the poses. But I think it was at that moment where I realized how serious my problems were. Just at that moment when you can, you know, everybody was, you know, saying, wow, you have such a beautiful practice and your body has changed and it's amazing. And I was saying, something is wrong. I was saying it to myself because I was, I didn't want to give up my hard-earned fame, whatever, but I was unhappy. And I wasn't happy because, I'm serious, I wasn't really unhappy because on one hand, it was really very nice to go down 108 times into back bend, blindfolded, you know, or do all the bakasanas twice in a half an hour. It was very nice. There was a big zing feeling, and you felt very alive. You felt really, I'm here. But I felt uneasy because I felt a really deep gap between how it looked and how it felt on the sense of adrenaline, and between the fact that I felt a lot of fragmentation in the body. Many times it was, the body doesn't feel really happy, the body doesn't feel at ease, the body doesn't feel relaxed. It doesn't. It looks harmonious, but doesn't feel harmonious. It looks like, you know, this perfect thing, but it doesn't feel this perfect thing. So there was this gap, and this gap made me very uneasy. Also as a student, as a practitioner who did this a few hours a day, but also the teacher. And I think it was at that moment that really trying to understand and move from inside became quite an obsession. because I thought, if this gap is true, if this is it, if this is the way yoga is, then yoga is a kind of false promise. It promises you this perfect body-mind experience, and actually it looks that way, but it isn't. So then we're in trouble. We're with the false tradition, which I didn't want to even think that it was possible. So I thought, okay, so maybe I'm incapable, I'm an idiot, and it's just undoable. But when I looked at Donna practicing, I was quite convinced that she was relaxed and more happy than I was by a lot. So I thought the third solution was that the tradition was good, the teacher was good, and that there was still something I didn't understand. So I think I was then trying to say, okay, there must be a way to do this without feeling all this uneasiness, all this non-harmony. There must be a way to move which is more harmonious even in these very difficult poses. And I want to discover that. If it's there, I want to discover it for myself, for my own practice, also for my students, but also for really to move in a happy way and not in a miserable way, even if it looks wonderful. So I started moving more slowly, and so in that way I started to relax and move more slowly and look for connectiveness in the body, and mostly I was busy with not allowing the body to have any fragmentation. That's the connecting principle. So I was really busy with not allowing this feeling of the body fragmentating and then feeling this uneasiness in the joints while I was practicing. And this took another many years. And I think out of it, the way I practice and teach grew. So it was, of course, totally founded on Donna's understanding of the body and the practice and even the sequences. But it almost had to be rediscovered from inside to be true. Otherwise, it was just an outer performance. Mm-hmm. And because I realized how easy it was to perform it outwardly, with a lot of pain and uneasiness, I really set about to be able to teach so that other people could practice relaxed, unfragmented. And I think this is still my emphasis in teaching. I look at somebody, and if there is uneasiness or tension or unhappiness in the joint, I can almost see it, and I want to help the people who are practicing find another way of practicing, which is free of that suffering.